Hey you! Let's talk about metal and melodic death metal. Today I'm doing a top 10 of my favorite record from the 90s, but just for the melodic death metal genre. I'm super excited for this stuff because in the 90s I was discovering all those bands and it changes my life because it was getting into heavier stuff, harder stuff, and melodic stuff at the same time. So let's begin with my number 10. The band At the Gates with their album Slaughter of the Souls, released in 1995. I think it will rank way higher for a lot of you, but personally it's at number 10. I love the fast-paced, straightforward songwriting and very intense guitar riffing of that album. There's quite some melodic part also, but it's mostly really straight to your face. I really like the guitar playing, the riffing of Anders Björla and the drumming of Adrian Herlendensen, but mostly I think what makes this album so good is the vocal of Thomas Lindberg. I love his vocal, it's really unrelentless, and I love his tones, really perfect for me for that kind of music. Favorite tracks will be Blinded by Fear, Nausea, and Unto Others. Yes, that's it. At number 9, we are going to Finland with the band Amorphis and Tales from the Thousand Lakes. And this album was released in 1994. I love that album because it was a really different approach than At the Gates. It was more on the melodic side. Really simple melodies, but at the same time so memorable. And I like that they will incorporate different kind of vocals already early in the 90s. And Esa Olopenen, I always struggle to say his name, Esa Olopenen, I think. And his style of melodic guitar playing is really defining in this record, and I think he will keep on going up to now. You know it's him because that's the kind of melodic guitar he will play, a little bit of Arabic style, Mid-Eastern. I really like that, and I think Tommy Koivusari, the rhythm guitar player at the time and the singer, the growl vocals especially, he was really good, and I love that album. It's a banger. My favorite track, Drowned Maid, Magic and Mayhem is the absolute masterpiece I think on this album, and Castaway, yeah, no Black Winter Day, sorry, I love that track though. Coming at number 8, we have Carcass, the only band that is not a Scandinavian band in my list. Carcass with their album Heartwork, released in 1993. It was a really different album from Carcass because the album just before was more into pure death metal with some melodic side as well, but they were a grindcore band at first and they evolved with every single album. I think Jeff Walker has an absolute great tone on vocals, very aggressive, not too guttural, but is on the fence. It's not like shrieking black metal style, not a really guttural from the deep cavern, but it's right in the middle. It's nice, great riffing by Bill Steer, and the addition of Michael Hammett on lead guitar brought a more melodic side to their sound, and I love that album for that. Favorite track would be This Mortal Coil, the title track, and Death Certificate, probably my favorite from that album. Coming at number 7, we are going back to Finland in the band Sentence. Yes, Sentence were quite melodic death metal at the beginning, and then they evolved themselves into a more like heavy metal gothic rock band, and I like that period as much. It's just two different bands completely. I think the songwriting of those guys who were like 18, 19 years old at the time is just incredible. They were very melodic but very dark and very aggressive. The songs are quite longer, 5-6 minutes songs. There's a lot of development in there. There's a lot of cool ideas. There's sometimes you're like, what the fuck just happened? There's some surprises. Sometimes it's not the most current songwriting ever, but it's just a feel-good riff anyway. I think Taneli Jarva, he's a great vocalist. He was the first to take the mic for Sentence, especially in the growl vocals period. Then he left, I think, just before the album Down. And Mr. Tenkula on guitar, unfortunately, he died, I think, in 2009, 4 or 5 years after the Funeral album. But he was such a great composer for great hooks, music that moves you. So Sentence, North From Here, 1993, a very underrated album, I think. Favorite track, Awaiting the Winter Frost. We'll say Northern Lights and Capture of Fire. That's all three great tracks. Coming at number 6 will be Edge of Sanity and Dan Swano. The album that I choose will be Crimson. Purgatory Afterglow can be a great choice as well, but Crimson, released in 1996, is just a standalone album. It's a one-track album of 40 minutes, and I think it's the last album that was a cohesive unit for the songwriting. Almost everybody were involved. It wasn't a solo project from Dan Swano. But he's the mastermind of Edge of Sanity, and I think Andreas Axelsson also has some really strong ideas in the songwriting. Dan Swano, his voice first, is one of the best growl vocals I have ever heard. I love his tone, I love his presence, I like how it's like aggressive, but at the same time his voice is large. It sounds large, and there's so many twists and turns during that 40-minute songs. There's a lot of genres that are covered. I will let you the surprise if you don't know that record. It's a great setting if you want to listen to go somewhere, to have an adventure, and you're open-minded in music. It's mostly melodic death metal, but you will have some ingredients of a lot of other genres. Really cool. Favorite track. Okay, the top 5 now. Coming at number 5, it's Arch Enemy with the album Burning Bridges. Was released in 1999, just before the millennium. And I think the dual guitar playing of brothers Michael and Christopher Hammett is outstanding on this album. They are mixing melodic death metal with a lot of almost melodic hard rock from the 70s and the 80s. Just listen to the song Pilgrim. There's the chorus. Oh no, it's Silverwing. Pilgrim. That's the same fucking riff then in the song Blue Oyster Cult by the band Blue Oyster Cult. The song is called Astronomy. So Michael brought a lot of influences of this melodic hard rock sound that was almost the beginning of heavy metal also during the 70s. Yes, Black Sabbath, everything, but there was some influences. I think both brother Ahmet bring something different. Michael is more on the melodic emotion side. Chris is more technical, is a shredder, but he's still melodic. So the combination of their dual soloing is like breathtaking, almost. Johan Levon vocal is really good. He has a simple growl vocal, but it's very effective with that kind of music. Favorite track will be The Immortal, Dead Inside, and Silver Wing. Sorry for that singing, I will not do that again, today at least. Coming at number 4, it's one of my favorite band of all time, is the band Swordwork, and the album is called The Chine Art Machine. It was released also in 1999. I think, again, dual guitar by Olaf Renning and Peter Wishers is outstanding. Both are really melodic. They like to write great hooks even during their solos. The vocal of Bjorn Strid is just unrelentless. He's not called Speed for nothing. On this album, he's like shouting, screaming really fast, a lot of lyrics, and there's so much energy like that comes out of that guy. And don't forget the excellent drumming, intricate drumming in some parts by Henry Renta. I think he was really a great drummer for the band. He was there up to, I think, figure number 5. Great songwriting. Favorite songs, Bullet Beast, Chine Art Machine, and I'm not sure between Million Flame and The Spirit of the Future Sun. I will take Spirit of the Future Sun. It's a longer track. Incredible. Top 3 now. We are going with the 3rd place, and it's a band from Sweden, also the Gothenburg sound. It's Dark Tranquility with The Gallery. It was released in 1995. Michael Stein on vocals. It's the first album that his vocal is really strong. I think he found his voice. It's really, really appealing. It's really intense. The songwriting here is all over the place. There are really fast part, acoustic part, clean parts. There's a little bit of everything jam-packed in the album, but at the same time, it's really the true melodic death metal sound of Sweden, of Gothenburg. There's so many great lead guitar playing here by Niklas Sundin. Anders Givart is really good on drums, doing everything that like fits the best to every single riff. It's changing a lot. You will not have like a riff for a minute or 30 seconds even. Sometimes it will change for a riff, then 5 seconds, 10 seconds later, there's another riff, and another one. They were like writing a lot of riffs and putting them into 4 or 5 minute song. It was incredible. I love that album to death. Favorite songs: Eden Spring, Punish My Heaven, and the Emptiness from Which I Fed. Really like that one. Really different. Coming at number 2nd, you start to know what will be my next 2 pick. 2nd place, it's In Flames, and it was really difficult to choose an album because I like Colony, I like Oracle so much, but I like even more, a tiny bit, the Jester Race that came out in 1996. I think if I have to give the definition of melodic death metal to someone who is totally unaware of the genre, I will give him the Jester Race, and you will see what it sounds like. The voice of Anders Frieden here is just perfect. It's perfection for the genre. It's punchy, it's quite a little bit guttural, but not too much. It's kind of melodic at the same time, but the riffing here, Jesper Stromblad and Glenn Lundstrom, I think, really difficult to say his name, and I never heard someone from Sweden say it to me, so I'm trying out of nowhere. Those guys were like able to write some of the best groovy riff that wants you to bang your head. Just think about riffs like in December Flowers. Yes, there's the part with the tremolo riff that is really fast with fast drum, but there's the part with you know what I mean by these kind of riffs, and they will refine that type of riff. And on Clayman, I think they are using those riffs a lot more, and it's so good to hear. But at that time, the artwork, I have that artwork on my painting here. You just put the guitar away. You see, there's the Jesters here and the War Machine of the Jester Race. I love that album so much, and I think some of the best hooks and melodies ever written are packed on this album. Not the most complicated, but it's just so memorable. You want to listen to them again. Just think about the song Wayfarer, an instrumental song, and then you go on the other end with the Jester Dance, short instrumental song again, but no distortion at the beginning, and then it kicks off, and you have the opener with acoustic guitar, Moonchill. It's really different, and then you have the kick-ass songs like December Flower, Dead Eternity, and the Dead God in Me. Dead God in Me is a really fast-paced songs that sound a little bit like At the Gates on Slaughter of Souls. Yes, there's so many things I have to say on that album. It's a great album. Favorite track, December Flower, Dead Eternity, and Artifact of the Black Rain. But there's no filler, all killers. It's a fucking genius album. Coming at number 1. It's from Finland. This is the Children of Bodom. Children of Bodom, one of my favorite band ever too, especially the beginning of their career. I think they just, I remember listening to 8-Breeder when it came out. I did know something while a little bit because of my baseball coach. He was listening to the first album, and he has a tattoo of the rapper from the first album. I love that album. Every song on it are quite interesting, but when 8-Breeder dropped, I was like, what the hell? The improvement they did from Something Wild to 8-Breeder is just unbearable. The melodic side just stepped up. It's neoclassical melodic death metal with a little bit of power metal influence, but a little bit of black metal influence as well. It's kind of dark but happy at the same time. There's a lot of great atmosphere by Yanni Wehrman on keyboard. There's extraordinary guitar playing by Alexi Leo. He's one of my favorite guitar player ever, and when he died it was so painful for me and for a lot of you. I'm sure I'm still thinking about him almost every day. It's crazy, man. That guy was so important for me when I was 16, 17 years old and up to like my early 20s. Children of Bodom were my favorite band from like 1999 to the the release of Are You Dead Yet? Still a cool album that has grown on me with times, but the four first albums are incredible. 8 Breeder is just perfect all the way through. It's one of my Desert Island album. It's so difficult to choose 3 tracks because it's some of the best solo I've heard in my life, some of the best guitar, melodic lead guitar I've heard. Some of those leads are even solos. It's not like In Flames. In Flames is more simple, the melodic side, but Children is more, there's a lot of shred, but not too much. It's still over the top melodic. Favorite tracks, I will say Towards Dead End, Children of Bodom, and Silent Night, Bottom Night, but I love them all equally. Yeah, like it's all my 9 children. Okay, so let's do some honorable mention. It was a tough list to do, sincerely, because there's so much quality during the 90s, and it was the beginning of the genre, and people were trying a lot of different things, but the core of the sound was still the same. And if I give a shout out to a band like Bunny Tears, Tortura Insomnia, super good album. The only reason it's not in my top 10, I think it's not as consistent as the other release, because maybe the 2/3 of that album will be almost in 6th or 7th position. But the fact they have like 2 duds on this album, 2 tracks I really dislike. It's like very different from the other stuff you will find on it. That's the reason I put it just in the honorable mention. After that, I have Merciless with the album Houndbound. Merciless were more into death metal and thrash metal, but this last album from them, Unbound, is really melodic death metal with a death metal twist, and I liked it. A lot of good melodic lines, really cool vocal also. After that, I will say Gate of Ishtar and the Down of Flames. They did 3 great albums at the end of the 90s. This is my favorite. I think the first track is called Perpetual Flame, if I'm not mistaken. That's the first track of the album. The outro solo is so cool, so melodic, so In Flames. Next up, the Elysian Field with the album We the Enlightened. I think it's a great album. It probably the most different album from all the others, because they are experimenting a little bit more with this album. There's acoustic part, there's blast beat even in some parts. The vocals are different from a song to another. There's a lot to discover. I think it's an album that you will like some track, maybe not so much as some others, but in the end, you can listen to it from start to finish. It's a great adventure. Go. Next one, it will be Sacrilege with the 5th Seasons. Season, not seasons. And it's a cool, fast album in the vein of maybe At the Gates, but a little bit more melodic, I think. Cool album. Next one is Rapture with the album Futile. I didn't include this album in the top 10 because it's not purely melodic death metal. There's a little bit of gothic metal in here, and some other influences that are not really melodic death metal. It's a really melodic album anyway. Great vocals. It's very simple. There's no solos, but the hooks are really memorable. Go see that. Rapture from Finland, and the 3 albums that they did are all awesome. Next one, God Dethroned with Bloody Blasphemy, a really kick-ass album. Probably my favorite from them. They have a lot of cool albums. Hypocrisy with the Final Chapter. Was quite difficult to choose my best album from the 90s for Hypocrisy. I think the Final Chapter is probably the collection of songs I will listen to mostly in regards of the others. so I choose that one. Night in Gales from Sweden, and the album Toward the Twilight. So good album, but very inconsistent also. Maybe 6 killer, totally killer track in the vein of In Flames, the Jester Race, but also maybe, yeah, 3 tracks that I'm like, I have to skip them. So that's the reason it's not in the top 10, because there's a lot of quality on that album. Next one, Crown of Thorns. It's now, it's been like for 25 years, The Crown. But at the time, they released 2 albums in the 90s that were under the name of Crown of Thorns. The one I chose is Eternal Death. It's a really nice album, really good melodic death metal, and less trash and roll and dead and roll that they will start to do more on Death Race King. My favorite album by them. It's a masterpiece, Death Race King. And the last shout out I will do, it's to the band Unanimated, Ancient God of Evil. Really good album. A lot of people are saying on the internet or everywhere that this is probably the most underrated album of melodic death metal from the 90s, and it's really underrated. Yeah, absolutely. The most, I'm not sure, but it's a really quality album. Great hooks, some aggression also, great vocals that fits the bill. Yeah, you got it. This is my list for my best 10 records from the 90s and a lot more. Oh, sorry, Eddie. Tell me, what's your top 10? I'm eager to hear what you have in mind. What band did I miss? What band do you think should be on the list? What's your list? Which band you will say throw that to the trash, why it's in your top 10 or even in your honorable mention? I want you to talk. Let's have a dialogue. That's it for this video. Stay metal, battle for metal, and cheers!